Good morning, everyone. My name's Matt Hunt. I'm the Managing Director of Adconion, and I'm not Patrick Meinanga, the Chief Strategy Officer here. We've currently got about 9 of our executives scattered throughout the world, and unfortunately they couldn't be here. But today, I'm very excited to pick up on the presentation and talk to you about content distribution and our view of the world, what we're doing around Juiced, and in particular, what we believe is going to be the future around content distribution and monetization. So I'm going to dive into it because there's a fair bit of content to get through, but just to provide some context, Adconion Media Group today, we're the largest global independent audience network. So we operate in the advertising network space, and that means that we're connecting websites with advertisers predominantly. So we currently reach about 350 million people. So to put that into context, about 1/3 of the total internet population is coming across our network. But really what I wanted to talk about today is that our vision is really to become the leading content distribution and monetization platform. And so that's what I want to talk about today, content distribution of tomorrow. So how is it that, I guess some of you may be wondering, why is an ad network up here talking about content distribution? Well, many ad networks have proprietary ad-serving technology, and I think it's worth exploring and reviewing this technology and understanding, what it is that this technology enables. So when we think about ad-serving technology, essentially what we're talking about is a scalable platform that's processing a huge amount of customer data, a huge amount of data that allows us to derive insights around how we can better optimize and target campaigns. When we talk about the ingredients that are important in the ad-serving technology, the first thing that an ad-serving company needs to understand is you have to have scale. When we talk about the brands that have been showcased here, if you talk about Coke or McDonald's, what these brands are really demanding from a technology company and an ad-serving company is scale. They need that technology to reach millions of people every single day across a country or even across the world. The second part about the technology is around targeting, and targeting is all around data, but not just technical data like was my ad served in this particular area or did somebody click, but it's really about understanding psychographic data and behavioral targeting data. It's about understanding more than is a person male, female. It's about what region are they in, but also what are their interests and what are the behaviours that they're displaying as well. So data is incredibly important. The third part of things is around the technology is really around optimization, and optimization is really about relevance. So it's about understanding, are you serving the relevant ad to the relevant person at the relevant time? So really, when we talk about those 3 different components, we talk about scale, we talk about targeting, we talk about optimization, we think that it's these ingredients that are making companies in the ad-serving sector the very interesting players when it comes to monetization of advertising in the advertising space. But in this world, when I think about ads, and this is a conversation we have a lot around the world in our offices, but what is an ad really? And when I think about what an ad is, we look at it and view it as a piece of digital content. An online ad is a piece of digital content that's essentially telling a story, but it's looking to elicit a response or build a connection with a user. So when we talk about advertising, really, how does this relate to content distribution? Well, my question would be, actually, how different is this to content distribution? So when we talk about content distribution in the offline world, it's pretty straightforward. Content distribution is essentially determining, when, how, and where to distribute content and to whom. And in the offline world, it's been a fairly straightforward process. If you take the film industry, for example, typically what's happens is there'll be a theatrical release, which would be followed by a launch on DVD, which would then be followed by a premiere on cable or pay TV. And after that, you would see that it would be syndicated across television networks. So when the internet came in, and what we saw is that actually not a lot changed around this windowing strategy for some time. But after a while, what we saw, firstly in the music space, is there's some new models in relation to content distribution. And 2 of the early examples were Coldplay and Radiohead. What was interesting about this was what you found was that here are 2 labels that actually made a decision to, rather than make a CD release, let's put this content, let's make it available to our fans online, often for free. And before long, you saw the digital studios and the major studios look at a similar strategy as well. So, for example, banking on the success of the Jackass property, you saw Paramount Digital Entertainment. They did a direct-to-DVD launch of Jackass 2.0 with additional features. What was interesting about that, though, while it was direct-to-DVD, it was available online for free as well. And a more recent example, which was famously launched online as well, Paranormal, this was an example where, rather than a theatrical release, the studio released it online, got it out across the social media where it was very popular, got a lot of buzz around it. And what was interesting about it was when it came to the theatrical release and it was in theatres where there was access to the free content online, you actually saw that it was a huge commercial success. So really at the heart of all of these distribution models is the concept of distribution is really about monetization. The time and resource required to produce music clips, made-for-web series, TV shows, films, and films really requires a distribution strategy that can get you, that can not only recoup the cost that you've invested, but also generate a profit off the back of it. The challenge around that right now is that it's proving very difficult in a media market that's becoming far more segmented, and trying to reach your audience online in particular is proving challenging. So this is where we believe the internet has many advantages that allows us to really change the way that we think about content distribution and monetization. So if you think about it for a second, imagine a world, and using the internet technologies or the micro-segmenting technologies of a brand like Amazon and their referral engine. So there you have a situation that somebody that bought this book or was also interested in this content and could refer it to somebody else. Or what about some of the personalised media consumption technologies around music through Pandora or Last.fm or Spotify? Well, what you're really seeing there is that you're getting very niche content delivered to niche audiences as well, which is very exciting, obviously, for all the reasons that we know. But niche is fantastic, and it means that you're minimising the wastage and you're effectively reaching just the right people. But as we all know, the challenge with niche marketing is that it just is not providing scale. So this is the challenge that we think about in the network space and the content distribution space, which is how do you find those audiences, and what is the technology that you use to drive scale, and what is the approach? Well, what we're seeing online today are two fundamental distribution strategies, and this is the way that we describe it. We describe it as a pull distribution model and a push distribution model. And when I think about an example for the pull model, I like to use the example of the iPlayer, which means that if you want to access any BBC content, it means you have to go to this one site and this one player. So if you're BBC, it said that the strategy is, here's my site, here's my player, here's my content, and then it's about pulling the audience to you. There's a different model which CBS is using on across their 100 sites across their network, which is pushing that content out. And by that I mean, if you want the latest episode of CSI, it means you don't have to go to cbs.com, you can go to other areas as well. Both have their pros and their cons, and their challenges and their advantages. But one of the challenges we're witnessing with the popular pull model, whether it be YouTube or most portal destinations, is that because the audiences are getting so segmented, generating scale out of these environments is still proving to be a challenge. So what's the solution? Well, we feel that one of the interesting propositions that we feel strongly about is, rather than waiting for people to come to your site, it can be about taking your message out to where the audience are. And the way that and you think as a brand, how do you do that? That sounds very complex. But actually what we're talking about is that you work with a partner who's built a syndication network that can help you reach that audience wherever it may be. So rather than the traditional model in TV where the TV stations were part of your syndication network, what we're talking about is the partners in our network or in our content syndication network, and where people are thinking about this is you have a range of websites all over the world where we've profiled those people to understand who's going to those sites. And so when a brand works with us, we can distribute content, particularly video content, out across those sites. The second part of it is, though, looking at a different type of website, looking at video portals like Juice.com, for example, as an affiliate across our network. So they have a huge amount of video content on that site, and again, we can use that within our overall syndication network. And the third area, which we believe is very exciting, is websites that are actually receiving video content via a standard 300 by 250 ad unit or 728 by 90 ad unit, that when users interact with that, it expands to a full HD player environment as well. So what we're really talking about here is that in a network environment, basically any site that reaches a huge number of users in any one month actually becomes, could be one of the major sites within the network are actually, we're turning them into the television stations of tomorrow. But what gets really interesting around this, apart from the huge scale and the targeting that you can achieve through this model, is that all of the content and all of the advertising packaged together are contextually relevant and targeted. And that has some very key benefits, which is as users are consuming the content, they're actually producing data. And on that data, we're able to recommend different content, and the quality of the data of the content experience becomes better, which we believe in turn will increase the consumption of content overall. So, technically, and what does this mean, and what are we doing at our company and other companies as well? Well, what do you need to be able to take advantage of this? Well, there's really these four things. You need a very robust video platform, which involves recommendation engines, discovery engines, content engines. What Russell was saying before, I completely agree with around discovery and how you manage that content. You definitely need scale to be able to reach any user that your advertiser is trying to reach anywhere in the world. You need an IP-based platform, and you need machine-based learning and the optimization algorithms that we were speaking about before. So really what we're talking about is, while that technology sounds very complex, the reality is all of it pretty much exists in the ad servers of today, and this is one of the key themes that we're talking about here. And many of these companies are already using this technology already. But guess what? I personally didn't come up with these ideas, and certainly Patrick, these are not original ideas. When I think about other companies who have already seen this and identified the opportunity, they're these sort of companies. So when I spoke about yesterday about who are the companies that we look at that are doing some interesting work, we think this is very interesting. Many people were skeptical as to the valuations and the acquisitions of Google and DoubleClick and Microsoft and Aquantive. But perhaps maybe these were the companies that identified, like we have, the huge opportunity in display advertising and content serving moving forward. So, to summarise, and I've got a reel just before a reel that I want to show just before I sign off, because we're pretty limited on time here. Really, what we're talking about is the key points are: we believe that the ad-serving companies today really are the experts in the distribution and monetization of content in the digital space. We believe that the key challenges in the world of tomorrow are still going to be distribution typified by a very fragmented audience, and we believe that monetization actually is going to be the key challenge. So it's on that basis, and therefore, that we believe that the ad-serving companies of today really will be the content-serving companies of tomorrow. And before I say thank you, I want to play a reel of a partner company of ours who is, their name's Red Lever, and or Red Lever if you're in the US, and they're a branded entertainment studio. They're in the business of producing content, but they're using many of these principles and working with Adconion and our video platform Juiced to distribute and reach their audiences as well. So I think it's a nice way to wrap up and show an example of how this might work. So if we can play that, that would be great.